When are you going to get pregnant? Who do you think is paying for expensive treatment, this money eater? Saying that, my husband Nigel threw me the divorce paper. Why, those defiant eyes, I've fed you so far. You should thank me, and get out of here. Well, I don't think anyone will choose you like an old woman who doesn't work, can't have children. At best, you're going to crawl and live miserably. After 10 years of marriage, I was a housewife and was abandoned at the age of 40 due to infertility. How am I going to live from now on? What saved me, who had lost the will to live, was the life of my beloved child who dwelt after the divorce. Mother, my angelic son said, and my life changed brightly. I didn't think about it at the time. I never thought that this angelic smile would send my husband to hell. My name is Leighton. Nigel and I have been married for 10 years and have been a full-time housewife since their marriage. We have always loved children and were looking forward to the birth of our own child, but we were not blessed with a child. In the beginning, I said, "This is a gift." They were both relaxed, but they couldn't have children even after 5 years of marriage, so they decided to undergo fertility treatment, thinking, is there a cause? However, Nigel was not very supportive, believing that fertility treatment is for women and that the inability to have children is a problem on the part of women. On top of that, the cost of treatment was high, so when I saw that I often got sick from the side effects of the treatment, I said, I'm not paying a lot of money to make you go to bed. He always complained, who do you think is paying for the expensive treatment? After 5 years of fertility treatment, he couldn't seem to take it anymore. My doctor and I did our best, but we never had a child, and the cost of treatment only increased. Dissatisfied with the situation, he finally filed for divorce. I tried to talk to him several times to see if he could reconsider, but by this time he had already fed up with me. He never listened to me. At the age of 40, I divorced. I became single. After the divorce, I felt like I had a hole in my heart, but I worked hard to survive. Since I was married, I had been working part-time in the hope that I could add to the expensive medical expenses, so I was allowed to continue working. Thankfully, when I explained the situation, I was able to increase my work. In addition, since there had been talk of promoting me to an employee for a long time, the company asked me to become a full-time employee. The days that followed were not busy, and time flew by. Then, a month after my divorce, something happened that changed my life. My best friend from high school got into a car accident with her husband and both never returned. She was a best friend with whom I shared both happy and sad times. When I was worried about not having children, and when I got divorced, she gave me counseling and helped me a lot. At first, I couldn't believe that my best friend had passed away. It didn't feel real, but as soon as I saw my best friend's face at the funeral, I felt like the color had disappeared from the world. As I was about to leave the venue feeling like I was in a dream, something suddenly caught my eye. In the corner of the venue, a small back sits. I've met him a few times. I think he's in elementary school now. How did he grow so big without knowing it? The little back that didn't budge was my best friend's forgotten keepsake, her son Alex. The way he sits down and stares at the ground makes my heart tighten. I wonder what will happen to this child who has lost his parents and is suddenly alone. My best friend and her husband have both lost their parents and have previously said that they are having a hard time getting along with their relatives. Maybe this child will go around without knowing where to go. I couldn't help but think so, and I came forward to adopt Alex. As an outsider, I thought I would get into trouble because I suddenly said this, but I won't help no matter what. Unexpectedly, he was easily adopted on the condition. Alex didn't complain and agreed to live with me, so the conversation progressed quickly after that, and I was left to raise Alex by myself. Since then, my life has changed completely. Every day was like a storm, and I respected the existence of parents in the world from the bottom of my heart, wondering how hard it is to raise a child. Every day was dizzyingly busy, but fun. I sometimes had fights with him, but I gave him the best love I could, and he grew up quickly without any major illnesses or injuries. Nearly a decade after we started living together, when he had just entered high school, I happened to be out shopping for dinner with him when I bumped into Nigel. Nigel looked at him next to me and opened his mouth in surprise, but somewhat amused. "Why do you have such a big son? You were cheating on me." "Stop making weird accusations, this kid. It's a child with a cheating partner. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a son who has grown up like this." I said no, I was not cheating on you, and I still live with him. In the first place, this child is my. I try to continue with the words to explain, but Nigel interrupts everything. He's always been a person who doesn't listen to people, but I feel like it's worse than before. Nigel, who had interrupted my words, opened his mouth with a smirk on his face. "Oh, okay, you were dumped by your cheating partner, weren't you? I feel sorry for you. You haven't been working hard, so I'm sure you're having a hard time. Don't say anything arbitrary, it's too rude." Maybe it's funny that I'm angry, but Nigel still smirks and twists his lips. When I started thinking about ignoring the words that were so insensitive and walking away, I noticed a sense of discomfort. Why does Nigel assume that Alex is the child of an unfaithful partner? I should have known that it was because I had not been able to have a child after 5 years of fertility treatment. I put my thoughts into words. "Nigel, why did you think Alex was my child? You know I'm infertile, why did you think I had a child with an affair partner?" "What? Oh, that's just a coincidence. Even if I had an affair, you know I can't have children. That's why we got divorced, so why do you happen to forget something so important? How many years do you think passed since we've been divorced?" Suspicious. The eyes that had been staring at me in a condescending manner just now refused to look at me for a moment. The suspicion grows more and more in the gaze of swimming. "Are you hiding something?" "No." "Really?" When I take a step closer, Nigel takes a step back. Staring, his eyes swam awkwardly before he began to speak in a small voice. What he said was astonishing. After our divorce, he heard from a colleague that there was such a thing as infertility caused by men. Out of curiosity, he did some research and found that he was the cause of infertility. In other words, he was the cause, but because he was reluctant to treat and did not participate in the treatment, we could not have a child between us. So we couldn't have children because? Yes, it's my fault. That's. It was. Oh, you must have been mocking me for not being able to have children? What? At first, he was calm, but as he spoke, his emotions began to build up, and his voice gradually became louder. You really knew I was the cause, didn't you? That's why you had an affair with other man. Alex is my best friend's child. She died in an accident, so I adopted him and lived with him. Noisy. That's a lie. You've always been a light woman, so you flirted with a man like that. No matter how much I explain to Nigel, who doesn't listen to me, I wonder what happened. His voice was getting louder and louder, and the content was abusive to me, so I felt the stares of the people around us, which made me uncomfortable. When I was about to open my mouth to speak calmly to Nigel, who was still cursing, again, Alex, who had been quietly watching our exchange next to me, spoke. Uncle, please don't say anything selfish to my mother. Huh? If you speak ill of my mother anymore, I'll call the police. Reginald flinched when Alex showed him his smartphone. After glaring at Alex with a look of resentment, Nigel said nothing and just clicked his tongue and left. Thank you, Alex. Well, if something happens again, call me immediately. He doesn't seem to be able to talk properly, so it's dangerous if it's just my mother. But. Don't say but, it's dangerous. I get it. I couldn't believe that Alex, who was so small, was able to protect me. I thought he was still a child, but I was impressed by how much he had grown before I knew it. A few more years passed. Alex was in high school, and it was time to start looking for a job because he was about to graduate from a university. On that day, we were going to have dinner together on the way home from Alex's interview. Nigel appeared in front of me as I was waiting at the meeting place for Alex, who was late because the interview had taken longer than planned. Hey, Leighton. He has the same smirk and disgusting smile as before. However, his clothes were so shabby that I couldn't compare him to before, and his shoes had holes. If he talks to me, I won't know it's Nigel. As I stood there speechless due to various surprises, Nigel staggered towards me. Hey, Leighton, why don't we remarry and live together? What? Let's do that. Let's live together. I couldn't keep up with his words, which I didn't understand, and I just stood there. Nigel gets closer and closer. Nigel's hand touched my shoulder, and I took a step back in surprise and bumped into someone. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm fine. Are you okay with that? The elderly man looked at me anxiously, perhaps sensing something strange about me and Nigel. When a man glanced at Nigel and almost said something. Hey, stay away from my mother. Alex, who had just arrived at the meeting point, intervened between me and Nigel. Oh, you've come to the right place. You're going to take care of me because I'm going to be your father, okay? Huh? What are you talking about? People who are abandoned by their parents and can't be raised will not be worth so much, huh? You can't get a job at a good company anyway, and you're a loser. If you can't be happy living in poverty, at least do your best to serve your father and be filial to your parents. Don't say things that don't make sense. I could put up with it if it was just me, but you make fun of Alex. Anger distorts my vision. Why do I have to be said like this by Nigel, who knows nothing? I was so frustrated that I involuntarily clenched my fists. Alex seemed angry, too, but maybe he was hurt by being told such a thing at a delicate time during his job search. He bit his lip in frustration. I have to protect him. Just as I glared at Nigel, the man who had been quietly watching the proceedings spoke softly. As you said, this person has already been accepted by our company. You should have received your acceptance letter today. What? Huh? What are you talking about, old man? Don't mess with it. I relate to this, maybe more to do with Alex than you do with him. Oh, I'm sorry, but this is who I am. Saying this, the man took out his business card. When Nigel receives the business card, he looks surprised and compares the business card with the man's face over and over again. The business card that Alex and I were given had the title of President and CEO written on it. And this was the company that Alex had received as his first choice. When both Alex and I were too surprised to say anything, the man began to speak in the same calm tone. I was friends with Alex's biological father, and we used to play together a lot when he was alive, and we would go to his house. Alex was so young that he probably doesn't remember it, but I played with him too. I'd heard that after your parents died, you were taken in by a friend of your mother's, but you were living with a nice person. I feel the remnants of a friend who was kind and had a strong sense of justice not only on the outside, but also on the inside. Everyone in the room listened to the man's words without saying anything. The man looked at Alex with loving eyes, looked at Nigel, and spoke in a strong tone, completely different from before. Alex was raised by his parents and their friend, and he became very respectable. Compared to that, what about you, who insults others in such a way? Before you speak ill of him, you should look at yourself in the mirror and look back. Shut up, old man. If I shut up and listen, you did whatever you want. Nigel, who blushed at the man's words, rushes to the man. When Nigel tried to grab his chest, Nigel's hand was held by another hand. Yes, brother, let's calm down a bit. I'll listen to what you have to say. When he is startled by the sudden appearance of the police, Alex glances at his smartphone. I wonder when he was calling the police. Even though I knew that this was not the case in a situation that I was supposed to protect. My heart clenched at the fact that Alex had become a respectable adult without knowing it. This child is no longer a child who deserves to be protected. Mom, are you okay? He asks, looking at Alex as he looks into my face with a strange feeling of joy and loneliness. I told Alex, who looked back at me curiously, "It's okay, thank you," and his tense expression relaxed as if he was relieved. After that, Nigel was on a rampage for a while, but was taken into custody by the police and taken away with a nod to his head. I haven't seen Nigel since. I heard rumors that he remarried a much younger woman at work after divorcing me, but he couldn't have children. He was approached by a woman and reluctantly told her the story of infertility. The woman, who wanted a child, was angry with him for keeping quiet about his infertility, and she divorced him. On top of that, The complaints that the woman leaked at work became more and more rumored, and he became uncomfortable at work. Although he retired from the workplace, due to his age, he was not blessed with a new job, and he was spending his days managing to make ends meet with a part-time job. In the midst of all this, he happened to meet me again and it became an uproar. I don't know where he is or what he's doing now, but I hope he doesn't appear in front of me and Alex again. I've consulted with the police and are taking measures, so I think it's okay. Alex and I are still living happily together. After that, Alex, who got a job safely, seems to be struggling with the unfamiliar working life. He goes to work every day with the intention of becoming a full-fledged person as soon as possible. When I said that, I fell in love at first sight with the president who helped me at that time. When I invited him to dinner as a thank you, I had a better time with him than I expected. Since we were both single, we had several meals and tea after that. Alex is stunned when I fall in love for the first time in a long time, but he listens to me and gives me advice. He's a really good son. When I broke up with Nigel due to infertility, I had no idea that I had a future like this. You never know what's in store for you.